So here's something wild. If you're 28 years old right now and you follow what I'm about to show you, you could be sitting on $500,000 by 38. Not by winning the lottery, not by inheriting money, not by getting lucky with some crypto scheme, just by following a specific system that honestly isn't even that complicated. And look, I know what you're thinking. Yeah, right, I can barely afford rent. Trust me, I get it. But here's the thing that nobody tells you. Building wealth isn't about making six figures right out of the gate. It's about understanding how money actually works and then being boringly consistent about it. I'm going to spend the next 2 hours walking you through the exact blueprint. We're talking real numbers, actual strategies, specific accounts you need to open, the precise percentages to invest, and most importantly, the mathematical reality of how someone making $50,000 a year can genuinely build a $500,000 portfolio in a decade. Now, I'm going to be straight with you from the start. This isn't some get-rich-quick thing. This is a complete system that requires you to make some changes. Some of them might feel uncomfortable at first, but if you stick with me through this whole thing, I'm going to show you something in the final 15 minutes that most financial advisors won't tell you, a strategy for accelerating this entire process that I wish someone had told me about 5 years earlier. Chapter 1. The math they don't show you. Why 500K is actually possible. Let's start with the reality check. Can you actually get to 500K in 10 years? The answer is yes, but we need to be honest about what it takes. See, most financial content either makes it sound impossible or way too easy. The truth is somewhere in the middle, and it depends entirely on three variables: how much you start with, how much you add regularly, and what return you get. Here's the basic math. If you're starting from zero, completely from scratch, and you want to hit 500K in 10 years, you need to invest about $3,150 per month, assuming an 8% annual return. Now, hold on, don't close the video. I know that sounds like a lot. For most people watching this, that's probably like half their take-home pay or more. But here's where it gets interesting. If you can start with even $10,000 and invest $2,750 per month, you hit 500K. Start with $25,000, now you're down to $2,450 per month. The more you can front load, the less you need to contribute monthly because compound interest starts working earlier. And actually, let me rephrase that, because I think focusing on that monthly number first is discouraging. Let me show you a more realistic path. What if you started with just $5,000, maybe a tax refund or a bonus, or some savings you already have, and you began by investing $1,500 per month? In the first year, you'd get to about $23,500. Not bad, right? Now, here's what most people miss. Your income isn't static. In year 2, if you get even a modest 3% raise and you direct all of that raise to investing, you're now putting in $1,590 per month. By year 3, you're at $1,638. Following this pattern, starting with $5,000, beginning at $1,500 monthly, and increasing your investment by 3% per year, you'd end up with approximately $258,000 after 10 years at 8% returns. Wait, that's not 500K. You're right, so what gives? This is where the real strategy comes in, and this is what I want you to understand. The path to 500K isn't about finding one magic number and robotically hitting it every month for a decade. It's about creating a system that evolves as your income grows and as you optimize your finances. Think about it this way. Where were you financially 5 years ago? Were you making the same amount? Probably not. Were you spending money on the same things? Definitely not. Your life changes. Your income usually goes up. Your expenses can go down if you're strategic. And most importantly, your ability to earn money beyond just your salary can explode if you make the right moves. So, the real question isn't, can I invest $3,000 per month right now? It's, can I create a system that starts wherever I am today and grows strategically over the next decade? That's what this entire blueprint is about. Let me break down the actual framework we're going to cover. The 5-phase wealth building system. Phase 1, foundation, months 1 through 6, we're getting your financial house in order, eliminating the leaks in your budget, and starting your investment habit even if it's just $100 per month. Phase 2, acceleration, months 7 through 24. This is where we ramp up. You're now focused on increasing your income, cutting your biggest expenses, and systematically growing your monthly investment. Phase 3, optimization, years 3 through 5. You're earning more now. We're getting strategic about tax efficiency, diversification, and creating additional income streams. Phase 4, multiplication, years 6 through 8. Your portfolio is substantial now. We're leveraging it smarter, potentially adding real estate or other assets, and watching compound interest really kick in.
Now, before we dive into Phase 1, let me tell you why 8% is the number I keep using. The S&P 500 has averaged about 10 to 11% annually over the long term, but that's not adjusted for inflation. After inflation, you're looking at roughly 7 to 8% real returns. I use 8% because it's conservative enough to be realistic, but optimistic enough to be achievable. Could you do better? Maybe. Could you do worse? Definitely, especially if you panic sell during downturns or invest in garbage. The point is, 8% is the baseline assumption for this entire strategy. If you beat it, you'll hit 500K faster. If you get 7%, you'll need to adjust by investing a bit more or extending your timeline. One more thing before we get tactical. This entire blueprint assumes you're investing primarily in low-cost index funds, specifically total market index funds or S&P 500 index funds. We're not picking individual stocks. We're not trying to time the market. We're not day trading. That's not investing. That's gambling. We're building wealth systematically through broad market exposure. Okay, you've been patient. Let's get into the actual strategy. Chapter 2, Phase 1, the foundation, getting started in the first 6 months. Here's what most people get wrong about starting to invest. They think they need to have everything perfect before they begin. They want to pay off every debt, save a massive emergency fund, read 47 books, understand every financial term, and then maybe, possibly, they'll start investing. That's backwards. Look, I'm not saying you should ignore debt or skip building an emergency fund, but the reality is, if you wait until everything is perfect, you'll never start. And every month you delay is a month you lose to compound interest. So here's the actual foundation you need in the first 6 months. Step 1, the $1,000 starter emergency fund. Before you invest a single dollar, you need $1,000 in a high-yield savings account, not in your checking account, not under your mattress, in a separate savings account that earns at least 4 to 5% interest. As of 2024, online banks like Marcus, Ally, or Discover offer these rates. Why $1,000? Because it covers most immediate emergencies without being so large that you're letting huge amounts of cash sit, earning basically nothing while inflation eats it. Your car breaks down? $1,000 covers it. Unexpected medical bill? Covered. This prevents you from going into debt when life happens. How do you get to $1,000 if you don't have it? Honestly, you probably need to sell some stuff, pick up a few gig shifts, or cut your spending temporarily. Maybe you cancel subscriptions for 2 months. Maybe you don't eat out for a month. Maybe you sell those sneakers you never wear or that gaming console that's collecting dust. For most people, if you're aggressive about it, you can hit $1,000 in 4 to 8 weeks. It's not fun, but it's necessary. Step 2, employer 401k match, the free money you can't ignore. Once you have your $1,000 cushion, here's your next move. If your employer offers a 401k match, you contribute enough to get the full match. Period. End of discussion. Here's why this is non-negotiable. Let's say your employer matches 50% of your contributions up to 6% of your salary. If you make $50,000 per year and you contribute 6%, $3,000 per year, your employer adds another $1,500. That's an instant 50% return. Where else are you getting a guaranteed 50% return? Nowhere. Even if you have high-interest debt, we're talking credit cards at 22% APR, you still take the match. Why? Because a 50% or 100% instant return beats 22% debt. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but the math works out.
So in months 1 to 3 of your foundation phase, you're getting that $1,000 saved and adjusting your paycheck contributions to capture your full employer match. Step 3. Kill the high-interest debt. Now we deal with credit cards. If you're carrying credit card balances at 18, 22, 25% interest, we need to annihilate these. Why? Because there's no investment that reliably returns 20+% per year. Paying off a 22% APR credit card is mathematically equivalent to earning 22% on an investment. Here's the strategy. You're still contributing to get your 401k match, but every extra dollar goes to debt. Use the avalanche method, highest interest rate first. If you have Card 1, $3,000 at 24% APR, Card 2, $2,000 at 18% APR, Card 3, $1,500 at 15% APR. You make minimum payments on Cards 2 and 3, and you throw everything else at Card 1. Once it's gone, you roll that payment into Card 2, then Card 3. This might take you 3 to 6 months depending on how much debt you have and how aggressive you can be, but you need to do this. You cannot build wealth while simultaneously paying 22% interest to credit card companies. Step 4. Open your investment accounts. While you're knocking out debt, you should also be setting up your investment infrastructure. Here's what you need. Your 401k, you've already got this through your employer. Make sure it's invested in something, not just sitting in cash. Most plans offer a target date fund, like a Target 2050 fund or a total market index fund. Pick one. If you're young, go with the target date fund that matches roughly when you'll retire. A Roth IRA. This is crucial. Open one with Vanguard, Fidelity, or Schwab. These are the big three, and they're all solid. Why Roth? Because you contribute after-tax dollars now, but it grows tax-free forever, and you can withdraw it tax-free in retirement. For most people in their 20s and 30s, this is better than a traditional IRA. You can contribute up to $7,000 per year to a Roth IRA in 2024. It was $6,500 in 2023. That's $583 per month if you max it out. Now, you probably won't max it out in your first 6 months, but having the account open and ready is what matters. A taxable brokerage account. Same platforms, Vanguard, Fidelity, or Schwab. This is where you invest once you've maxed your tax-advantaged accounts. There are no contribution limits, but you pay taxes on gains. We'll get more into this later, but set it up now. Step 5. Start the investment habit. Here's something crucial that nobody talks about. Building wealth is more about behavior than math. In your first 6 months, even if you're only investing $100 or $200 per month while you're building your emergency fund and crushing debt, you're training yourself. You're making it automatic. You're building the habit. Set up automatic transfers. First of the every month, $100 moves from your checking to your Roth IRA and immediately buys VTI, Vanguard Total Stock Market ETF, or FSK-AXX, Fidelity Total Market Index Fund, or SWTSX, Schwab Total Stock Market Index Fund. Whatever platform you're using, pick their total market fund. Why automatic? Because you'll never feel like you have extra money to invest. There will always be something you want to buy. Automation removes the decision. After 6 months, here's where you should be. $1,000 emergency fund, check. Getting your full 401k match, check. High interest debt either gone or significantly reduced, check. Investment accounts open, check. Investing at least something every month, check. You're not rich yet, but you're set up correctly, and that matters more than you think. Chapter 3, Phase 2, the acceleration. Months 7 through 24, this is where it gets real. All right, so you've got your foundation. Now we're going to accelerate. This is where most people plateau, and it's where you're going to push. The goal in this phase is simple. Increase your monthly investment amount every single quarter, not annually, quarterly. Here's what that looks like in practice. Month 7, you're investing $400 a month, maybe $150 in your 401k to get the match, $250 in your Roth IRA. Month 10, you bump it to $500 a month. Month 13, now you're at $650 a month. Month 16, $800 a month. Month 19, $1,000 a month. Month 22, $1,200 a month. Wait, how do you increase your investment by $100 to $200 every 3 months? Doesn't that require massive raises? No, it requires strategic moves. Let me show you how. Strategy 1. the expense elimination sprint. Most people have what I call zombie subscriptions, stuff they're paying for but not using, gym memberships they haven't visited in months, streaming services they forgot about, apps they signed up for during a free trial and never canceled. Go through your bank statements for the last 3 months, literally every transaction. You're looking for subscriptions you don't use, $10 to $80 a month, insurance you're overpaying on, $20 to $100 a month, phone plans that are too expensive, $30 to $50 a month, and eating out you can reduce, $100 to $300 a month. Here's a real example from someone I know. They were paying $85 a month for a cable package they barely watched, $45 for a gym membership they used maybe twice a month, $30 for random streaming services, $15 for a premium Spotify they could downgrade, and about $400 a month eating lunch out every workday. They cut cable, switched to a $15 streaming service, canceled the gym, started running outside and doing bodyweight exercises, cut 2 streaming services, downgraded Spotify, and started meal prepping lunches for the week. Total saved $478 per month. Did their quality of life crater? Honestly, they said no. The only thing they missed was the convenience of eating out every day, but they said they actually felt better eating healthier homemade lunches. That $478 per month straight into investments. Over 18 months, that's $18,604 invested. At 8% annual returns over the remaining 8.5 years, that's $17,250. One expense audit created $17,250 in future wealth. Strategy 2. The side income stack. Now let's talk about increasing income because that's the other side of the equation. I'm not going to tell you to start a side hustle like it's some magic solution, but I am going to tell you that in 2024, there are more ways to make an extra $500 to $1,000 per month than ever before. The key is stacking small income sources, not trying to build a whole second business. Here are strategies that actually work. Freelance your existing skills. You already know how to do something valuable. Can you write, design, code, do bookkeeping, edit videos, manage social media? People will pay for these skills. Let's say you're decent at graphic design. You don't need to be amazing. You spend 5 hours on a Saturday creating a profile on Fiverr and Upwork. You price yourself cheaply at first, $150 for a logo design that takes you 3 hours. You do 1 per week. That's $600 a month. After a few months and some reviews, you raise your prices to $250. Now you're making $1,000 a month for 12 hours of weekend work. That $1,000 a month invested over 18 months is $18,000 contributed. Over the remaining 8.5 years at 8%, that grows to about $36,100. Consulting or tutoring. Whatever your day job is, you know more about it than people who want to get into that field. If you're in marketing, you can consult for small businesses. If you're a teacher, you can tutor. If you're in IT, you can help people with their tech problems. 1 session a week at $75 to $100 per hour is $300 to $400 a month. Rent out stuff you own. Got a parking space you don't use? Rent it out. Got a room you could rent on Airbnb? Do it. Got a car that sits unused? Turo. Camera equipment? Fat Llama. The key is this. You're not trying to replace your job. You're trying to add $500 to $1,200 a month to your investment capacity. That's it. And here's what nobody tells you. This doesn't have to be permanent. Maybe you hustle hard for 12 to 18 months to accelerate your portfolio, then you scale back because your primary income has grown or because you've built enough momentum. Strategy 3. The raise strategy. Most people never ask for a raise. They just hope someone notices their hard work and offers them more money. That's not a strategy. That's a prayer. Here's the actual strategy. Every 12 to 18 months, you should be having a conversation with your manager about compensation. Not, hey, I've been here a while, can I get more money? That doesn't work. Instead, step 1, document your wins. Keep a running list of every project you completed, every goal you exceeded, every problem you solved. Actual numbers. Increased sales by 14%, reduced processing time by 22 hours per week, trained 3 new team members. Step 2, research market rates. Go on Glassdoor, Levels.fy, or Payscale. Find out what people in your role, your city with your experience, are making. If you're below market rate, you have leverage. Step 3, schedule a meeting. Don't ambush your boss. Send a calendar invite. I'd like to discuss my compensation and career development. Give them a heads up. Step 4, make your case. I've been in this role for 18 months. In that time, I've accomplished X, Y, and Z. Based on market research, I believe my compensation should be adjusted to reflect my contributions and market rate. I'm looking for a raise to adjust to XXXX dollars. Be specific. Don't say I'd like a raise. Say I'm requesting an adjustment to $65,000 or whatever the number is. If they say no, ask what you need to do to get there in the next 6 months. Get specifics, then do those things and ask again. Here's the math. A $5,000 raise at a $50K salary is 10%. Seems big, right? But if you've been crushing it and you're below market rate, it's reasonable. That $5,000 per year, if you invest 60% of the after-tax increase, is about $250 extra a month. Over 8 years, that's $24,000 contributed, growing to about $37,000. One uncomfortable conversation created $37,000 of future wealth. Strategy 4, the geographic optimization. This one's controversial, but let's be real. Where you live massively impacts your ability to save and invest. If you're paying $2,000 a month for a one-bedroom apartment in a high-cost city, and you could pay $1,200 a month for a similar quality apartment in a lower-cost area, assuming your job is remote or you could find comparable work, that's $800 freed up. I'm not saying move to a place you hate. I'm saying optimize. Could you move to a less trendy neighborhood and save $300 a month? Could you get a roommate and save $500 a month? Could you move to a city with a lower cost of living but similar job opportunities? This isn't for everyone, but if you're serious about hitting $500K in 10 years, everything is on the table. Bringing it all together. By the end of month 24, the end of phase 2, here's where you should realistically be. You've reduced expenses by $300 to $500 a month. You've added $500 to $1,000 a month in side income. You've gotten at least one raise, increasing your base by $3,000 to $7,000 per year. Your monthly investment has grown from maybe $400 in month 7 to $1,500 plus by month 24. And here's the beautiful part. You've been investing consistently for 2 full years. You have proof that this works. Your portfolio has probably hit $35,000 to $45,000 depending on where you started. You're not rich, but you can see it working. That psychological shift is massive. Remember that thing I mentioned at the beginning? The strategy I'm saving for the end? Yeah, keep this acceleration phase in mind. It's all going to connect. Chapter 4, Phase 3, Optimization. Years 3 to 5, getting strategic about growth. Okay, so you're entering year 3. You've built the foundation, you've accelerated your investing, and now you've got some real money working for you. Let's say you're sitting on $50,000 to $70,000 in your portfolio. This is where most people just keep doing the same thing. They're like, cool, I'll just keep investing every month. And yeah, that works, but you can do better. Phase 3 is about optimization. We're getting strategic about 3 things: tax efficiency, asset allocation, and income diversification. Part 1. Tax efficiency, keeping more of what you make.
Here's something wild. 2 people can have the exact same portfolio and the exact same returns, but one person could end up with 15–20% more wealth just because they understood taxes better. Let me explain. When you invest, you're dealing with 3 types of accounts. Tax-deferred, traditional 401k or IRA. You get a tax deduction now, it grows tax-free, but you pay ordinary income tax when you withdraw in retirement. Tax-free, Roth 401k or Roth IRA, you pay taxes now, it grows tax-free, and you pay 0 taxes when you withdraw in retirement. Taxable, regular brokerage account. You pay taxes on dividends every year and capital gains when you sell, not ordinary income tax, up to 37%. Most people just dump money randomly into whatever account without thinking about which one is optimal for their situation. That's leaving money on the table. Here's the optimization strategy. If you're currently in the 22% or lower tax bracket, making under $95,000 as a single filer in 2024, prioritize Roth accounts. Why? Because you're probably going to be in a higher tax bracket in retirement, especially if you're building a $500K plus portfolio. Pay the taxes now at a lower rate. If you're in the 24% or higher bracket, making over $95,000 as a single filer, mix it up. Split your contributions between traditional and Roth. You want some tax diversification. But here's the deeper optimization. What you hold in each account matters. In your Roth IRA, hold your highest growth investments. Why? Because everything in a Roth is tax-free when you withdraw it. If you buy an investment that 10x's, you want that in a Roth so you never pay taxes on that growth. In your traditional 401k, hold bonds or other income-generating assets. Why? Because the income from bonds would be taxed as ordinary income anyway, so you might as well defer those taxes. In your taxable brokerage account, hold tax-efficient investments like total market index funds. These generate minimal dividends and you only pay capital gains tax when you sell, not ordinary income tax, up to 37%. Here's a real example of what this looks like. Let's say you have $30,000 in a Roth IRA, $40,000 in a traditional 401k, and $20,000 in a taxable brokerage account. Roth IRA, 100% VTI, or Total Stock Market Index Fund. Traditional 401k, 80% total stock market, 20% bonds. Taxable brokerage account, 100% VTI, or Total Stock Market Index Fund. You're optimizing for tax efficiency while maintaining roughly an 88% stock, 12% bond allocation overall. Now, the other piece of tax optimization, tax loss harvesting. This is something you can only do in taxable accounts. Here's how it works. Let's say you bought $5,000 of VTI and it drops to $4,000. You're down $1,000. You can sell VTI, realize that $1,000 loss for tax purposes, and immediately buy a similar but not identical fund like VTSAX or VOO. That $1,000 loss offsets $1,000 of gains elsewhere, saving you about $150 to $200 in taxes depending on your bracket. You do this every time you have a loss. Over 10 years, this could save you $3,000 to $5,000 in taxes. That's $3,000 to $5,000 that stays invested and continues compounding. Most people never do this because they don't understand it or think it's too complicated. It's not. Once you understand it, it takes 10 minutes per year. Part 2. Asset allocation. What you actually own matters. Up until now, I've been saying just buy a total market index fund, because when you're starting out, simplicity is key. But as your portfolio grows into the $50,000 to $100,000 plus range, you should get slightly more sophisticated. Here's the framework I recommend for someone in years 3 to 5 of building towards 500K. Core holdings, 80 to 85% of your portfolio. 60% U.S. total stock market, VTI, FSKAX, or SWTSX. 20% international stocks, VXUS, FTIHI, or SWISX. 5 to 10% bonds, BND, FXNAX, or SWAGX. Satellite holdings, 10 to 15% of your portfolio. 5% to 10% REIT index fund, VNQ, FREL. 5% individual stocks or sector funds, optional. Why this mix? U.S. stocks are your core growth engine. The U.S. market has been the best performer historically, and most companies in the S&P 500 are global companies anyway. International stocks give you diversification. When the U.S. market is down, international markets sometimes aren't. Plus, about half the world's market cap is outside the U.S. You want exposure to that. Bonds are your stability. In years 3 to 5, you're still young and should be aggressive, but having 5 to 10% in bonds smooths out the ride. When stocks drop 30%, bonds might drop 3%. It's psychological cushion. REITs, real estate investment trusts, give you real estate exposure without having to buy property. They generate income and historically have low correlation with stocks. Individual stocks or sector funds. This is your fun money. If you want to invest 5% of your portfolio in companies you believe in or sectors you think will outperform, go ahead. Just keep it small. Most people are terrible at picking individual stocks. This keeps you engaged without blowing up your portfolio.
Now, here's what matters most: rebalancing. Once per year, you check your allocation. Let's say stocks had an amazing year, and now they're 88% of your portfolio instead of 80%.
You sell some stocks and buy bonds to get back to your target allocation. This forces you to sell high, buy low automatically. You're taking profits from what's gone up and buying what's lagged. It's counterintuitive. You want to buy more of what's going up, but it works. Studies show that people who rebalance annually outperform people who just let their portfolio run wild. Part 3, income diversification, creating multiple streams. By year 3 to 5, you should have at least 2 to 3 income streams beyond your primary job. Notice I said income streams, not jobs. You're not working 3 jobs. You're creating systems that generate money. Here's what this could look like. Income stream 1, your primary job, obviously. Income stream 2, freelance or consulting work, 3 to 5 hours per week, generating $500 to $1,000 a month. Income stream 3, digital product or online business. Maybe you created a course, ebook, template, or Notion system that generates $200 to $500 a month passively. Income stream 4, dividend income from your portfolio. At $75,000 invested with a 1.5% dividend yield, that's about $94 a month, or $1,125 a year. Now, $94 a month sounds like not much, but here's the thing. It's money you didn't work for. It's passive, and it compounds. By year 5, if your portfolio is at $130,000, that dividend income is now $162 a month, or $1,950 a year. The goal isn't to replace your income with dividends by year 5. The goal is to create the habit and infrastructure of multiple income streams, because by years 7 to 8, these streams become significant. Part 4, the psychological game. Here's something nobody talks about. Around year 3 to 4, you're going to want to quit. Not because it's not working, it's working great, but because you're going to see your friends buying new cars, going on expensive vacations, living in nicer apartments, and you're still investing every spare dollar and living below your means. This is the valley. Everyone goes through it. Here's how you get through it. You zoom out. You look at your net worth graph over the last 3 years. You see that you've gone from maybe $5,000 to $80,000 or $100,000. You're averaging $25,000 to $30,000 per year of wealth creation. You're lapping 90% of your peers, even if it doesn't feel like it. And you remember why you started. Financial freedom isn't about stuff. It's about options. It's about not panicking when you lose your job. It's about being able to take a risk on a new opportunity because you have a cushion. It's about sleeping well at night. By the end of year 5, you should realistically have $140,000 to $180,000 invested, depending on your starting point and how aggressive you've been. You're over a quarter of the way to $500K. And here's the beautiful thing. The next $180,000 is going to be easier than the first $180,000 because compound interest is starting to do heavy lifting. Before we move to phase 4, I want to point something out. A lot of people watching this are probably thinking, this all sounds great, but what about real estate? What about starting a business? What about crypto? Hold that thought. We're going to address all of that in the next phase, because once you hit $150,000 in your portfolio, some different opportunities become available. That's where we're headed next. Also, quick reminder, if you're finding this valuable, hit that like button. It helps more people find this content. And subscribe because I drop videos like this regularly that will genuinely help you build wealth. All right, we're entering year 6. You've been at this for 5 years. You've built a solid foundation, accelerated your contributions, optimized your taxes and allocation, and now you've probably got somewhere between $160,000 and $220,000 working for you, depending on how aggressive you've been and how the market has performed. This is where things get interesting, because at this level of wealth, you have options that weren't available when you had $20,000. Phase 4 is about multiplication. We're not just adding money anymore. We're using what you've built to create exponential growth opportunities. Here's the leverage principle. Here's what most people don't understand about building wealth. The first 100,000 is the hardest. Charlie Munger said it, Warren Buffett said it, every wealthy person says it, and they're right.
Why? Because you're doing all the work. You're earning the money, saving it, and investing it. It's pure grind. But once you hit $150,000 to $200,000, things change. Now you have leverage. Your money starts making meaningful money on its own. Let me show you what I mean. At $200,000 invested, earning 8% annually, you're making $16,000 per year without doing anything. That's $1,333 per month. Think about that. That's more than many people invest in an entire year, and it's just happening automatically while you sleep. But the real leverage comes from using this foundation to create bigger opportunities. Opportunity 1. Real estate, but not how you think. Everyone talks about real estate like you need to become a landlord and deal with tenants and toilets. That's one way. It's not the only way. Here's the strategy I recommend for someone in years 6 to 8 of building toward 500K. House hacking. If you don't already own a home, this is one of the most powerful wealth-building tools available. You buy a 2 to 4 unit property, live in one unit, rent out the others. Let's say you buy a duplex for $400,000 with a 5% down payment, $20,000. Your mortgage, taxes, and insurance are $2,800 a month. You live in one side and rent the other for $1,600 a month. Your actual housing cost is now $1,200 a month instead of maybe $1,800 you were paying in rent. You just freed up $600 a month to invest. That's $7,200 per year. Over the final 3 to 4 years of your 10-year plan, that's $21,600 to $28,800 extra invested. But that's not even the best part. That $400,000 property, you only put down $20,000. If the property appreciates just 3% per year, that's $12,000 of appreciation annually. But you only invested $20,000. That's a 60% return on your actual capital. Plus, your tenant is paying down your mortgage, another $8,000 to $10,000 per year in principal reduction that builds your equity. Now, I know what you're thinking. I don't have $20,000 for a down payment. Actually, you might. Remember that $200,000 portfolio? You could take a $20,000 loan from your 401k, not recommended long-term, but possible. Or you could save aggressively for 12 to 18 months knowing this is coming, or you could partner with someone. Also not ideal, but possible. The point is, real estate becomes feasible as a strategy when you have a substantial portfolio because you have the financial stability to take on debt and handle emergencies. Alternative real estate strategy? REITs on steroids. If you don't want to deal with property management at all, there's another approach. Overweight REITs in your portfolio. Instead of 5 to 10% in REITs like I mentioned earlier, you bump it to 20 to 25%. You're still getting real estate exposure, still getting the diversification benefits and income, but you're doing it passively through funds. A $200,000 portfolio with 25% in REITs is $50,000 of real estate exposure. REIT index funds historically return around 9 to 10% annually and pay dividends of 3 to 4%. That's $1,500 to $2,000 per year in dividend income just from that allocation. Opportunity 2. The business accelerator. Here's where things get real interesting. By year 6 to 8, you've probably been doing some side income work, right? Maybe freelancing, maybe consulting, maybe you have a small online business generating $500 to $1,500 a month. What if you actually invested in scaling that? Most people treat their side income as just extra cash to invest, and that's fine. But what if you took $10,000 to $20,000 of that capital you've built and invested it in turning your side gig into a real business? Let me give you an example. Let's say you've been freelance writing on the side, making $800 a month, working maybe 8 hours per week. You're good at it, you have clients, but you're maxed out on time. You take $15,000 and you build a proper website, $3,000, hire a VA to handle admin work, $5,000 for 6 months, run ads to get higher paying clients, $4,000, take a course on pricing and selling services, $1,000, create templates and systems to work faster, $2,000. Now you're landing clients at $200 an hour instead of $75 an hour.
You're working the same 8 hours per week, but making $2,400 a month instead of $800. You've 3x'd your income from that stream. That extra $1,600 a month invested over 3 years is $57,600 contributed. At 8% annual returns over the remaining time, that becomes approximately $68,000. You invested $15,000 to create $68,000 of additional wealth. That's a 4.5x return. Where else are you getting that? Now, this doesn't work for everyone. Maybe your side income isn't scalable. Maybe you don't want to run a business. That's fine. But if you do have something that could scale and you have capital to invest in it, this is where multiplication happens. Opportunity 3. Advanced tax strategies. At this portfolio level, it's worth paying for real advice. I'm talking about hiring a CPA who specializes in tax optimization, not just filing your return. Here are strategies that become relevant at $200,000 plus portfolios. Tax gain harvesting, the opposite of tax loss harvesting. If you're in a low-income year, maybe you took a sabbatical or started a business that's not profitable yet, you intentionally realize long-term capital gains to lock in that lower tax rate. You sell and immediately rebuy the same investment. Now you've reset your cost basis higher, which means less taxes in the future when you might be in a higher bracket. Backdoor Roth conversions. If you're making too much to contribute directly to a Roth IRA, over $161,000 for single filers in 2024, you can still get money into a Roth through the back door. You contribute to a traditional IRA, no income limits, then immediately convert it to a Roth. Boom, you just got $7,000 into a Roth.
Mega Backdoor Roth. Some 401k plans allow after-tax contributions beyond the normal $23,000 limit. You can contribute up to $69,000 total, employer match plus your contributions plus after-tax contributions, and then convert those after-tax contributions to a Roth. This is how high earners get $40,000 plus into Roth accounts annually. Check if your plan offers this. Most people never even know to ask. Donor-advised funds. If you're charitably inclined and in a high-income year, you can dump appreciated stock into a donor-advised fund, get an immediate tax deduction for the full value, pay zero capital gains tax, and then donate to charities over time. You essentially prepay several years of charitable giving in one high-income year to maximize the tax benefit. These strategies can save you $3,000 to $8,000 per year in taxes at this wealth level. Over years 6 to 8, that's $9,000 to $24,000 that stays invested instead of going to the IRS. The exponential explosion. Let me show you something that's going to blow your mind. This is the part where compound interest stops being a theoretical concept and becomes a visible force. Let's say you enter year 6 with $160,000 invested. You're still adding $2,000 per month, $24,000 a year. Here's what happens. Year 6. Start, $160,000. Your contributions, $24,000. Investment returns, 8%, $14,720. End, $198,720. Year 7. Start, $198,720. Your contributions, $24,000. Investment returns, 8%, $17,818. End, $240,538. Year 8. Start, $240,538. Your contributions, $24,000. Investment returns, 8%, $21,163. End, $285,701. Look at what just happened. In year 6, the market gave you $14,720. In year 8, it gave you $21,163. That's a $6,443 difference just from having more money working for you.
By year 8, the market is contributing almost as much as you are. You're putting in $24,000, the market is adding $21,163. You're approaching the crossover point where your money makes more than you do from working. That's the explosion. That's what everyone talks about, but nobody really shows you. The behavior trap at this level. Here's the dangerous part of years 6 to 8. You're going to be tempted to get cute. You've got $250,000. You've been watching it grow steadily. It's been working, but you're going to hear about someone who made a killing in some individual stock or crypto or NFTs or options trading, and you're going to think, what if I took $50,000 and don't? Or if you absolutely can't resist, limit it to 5% of your portfolio. Take $10,000 to $15,000 and go make your speculative bets, but keep the other 95% in the boring, proven strategy that's been working. Because here's what happens. Most people who get fancy and try to accelerate through speculation end up setting themselves back years. They turn $50,000 into $15,000 and then spend the next 2 years trying to make it back. The path to $500K isn't sexy. It's not exciting. It's systematically adding money to diversified index funds and not doing anything stupid. That's it. I know that's not what you want to hear. Everyone wants the hack, the shortcut, the secret strategy. But the secret strategy is there is no secret strategy. It's just math and time and not sabotaging yourself. Portfolio milestone, $300K. If you follow this system, somewhere in years 7 or 8, you're going to cross $300,000. When that happens, take a moment to realize what you've accomplished. You're now in the top 15% of Americans by net worth. You have more wealth than the majority of people will accumulate in their entire lives, and you did it through intentional decisions and consistent action. But don't coast. This is where discipline matters most, because the difference between $300,000 and $500,000 is only 20 months at this rate. You're so close. Chapter 6, Phase 5, Momentum, Years 9 and 10, Crossing the Finish Line. We're in the home stretch, years 9 and 10. You've been doing this for almost a decade. You're sitting somewhere between $320,000 and $380,000, depending on market performance and how aggressive you've been. Here's what's wild. The last $150,000 to $200,000 is going to feel easier than the first $50,000. Why? Because momentum is a real thing. The momentum effect. At this point, several things are happening simultaneously. Your income has grown. You're probably making 30 to 40% more than when you started. If you started at $50,000, you're now at $65,000 to $70,000 or more. Maybe you've gotten promotions. Maybe you've switched jobs. Maybe your side income has become substantial. Your expenses have optimized. You've been living intentionally for 8 years. You've cut the fat. You know exactly where your money goes. You're not depriving yourself, but you're not wasting money either. Your investment habit is locked in. You don't even think about it anymore. Every month, money moves from your paycheck to investments automatically. It's as natural as paying rent. Compound interest is doing real work. Your portfolio is generating $25,000 to $30,000 per year in returns. That's more than most people make from working.
All of these forces are pushing you toward $500K. You're not grinding anymore. You're coasting. The system is working. The final push strategy. But let's not coast. Let's optimize these final 2 years and potentially beat the 10-year timeline or exceed the $500K target. Strategy 1. The windfall allocation. In years 9 to 10, you're probably going to get some windfalls. Tax refunds, bonuses, maybe you inherit some money, maybe you sell something valuable. Most people spend windfalls. They think, oh, this is extra money, I can splurge. Wrong mindset. Every dollar of windfall money you invest in years 9 to 10 turns into $1.17 to $1.25 by the end of your 10-year timeline, assuming 8% annual returns and 1 to 2 years of compounding time. It's not massive compounding, but it's something. But more importantly, a $5,000 windfall invested in year 9 will be worth $6,800 in year 12, $9,200 in year 15, $12,500 in year 18. That bonus you almost spent on a vacation is going to be worth $12,500 in just 8 more years. Invest your windfalls, all of them. Strategy 2, the contribution sprint. If you're close to $500K by month 110 or 112, and you're only $20,000 to $40,000 away, you might consider a final push. Can you cut expenses dramatically for the last 6 months? Can you take on extra work temporarily? Can you sell stuff you don't need? I'm not saying you should kill yourself to hit an arbitrary number by an arbitrary date, but if you're this close and a few months of extra effort gets you across the line, that psychological win is worth something. Strategy 3, the next level consideration. By year 9 to 10, you should be thinking about what comes after $500K, because that's not the end goal, it's a milestone. Do you want to retire early? Then you need to start learning about the 4% rule and calculating your FIRE number. Do you want to build a $2 to $3 million portfolio? Then you're thinking about the next 10 to 15 years and what your contribution rate needs to be. Do you want to use your wealth to start a business or pursue a passion? Then you're thinking about risk management and how much you're willing to potentially lose pursuing that dream. The point is, $500K is life-changing money, but it's not never work again money for most people. It's I have options money, and you should know what those options are. The market volatility factor. Here's something we need to address. I've been using 8% annual returns as the baseline assumption, but markets don't return exactly 8% every single year. Some years are plus 22%. Some years are minus 18%. If you're unlucky with timing, you might hit year 10 during a market downturn and be sitting at $420,000 instead of $500,000. That's frustrating, but not a failure. Here's what you do. You don't sell. You don't panic. You keep investing. Because if you're at $420,000 in year 10 and the market is down, it will recover. Within 18 to 24 months, you'll be at $500K plus. The only way you lose is if you sell during the downturn. Don't do that. Conversely, if you're lucky with timing and you hit year 10 during a market peak, you might have $580,000 or $620,000. That's awesome. Take the win, but don't expect that to be the norm. The psychological finish line. Somewhere around month 115 to 120, you're going to cross $500K. And when you do, here's what I want you to do. Look back at where you started. Look at your bank statement from 10 years ago. Look at your net worth tracking spreadsheet. You've been tracking this, right? See the graph going from maybe $5,000 or $15,000 to $500,000. You just 10x'd or 50x'd your wealth in a decade. You did that. Not luck, not inheritance, not winning the lottery. You made intentional decisions and executed consistently for 10 years. That's an incredible accomplishment that most people never achieve. Take a moment to celebrate. Maybe you splurge on a nice dinner. Maybe you take a trip. Maybe you just sit there and smile, knowing you did something hard that will pay dividends for the rest of your life. But then, and this is crucial, you keep going, because the habits you've built and the system you've created don't stop at $500K. They keep working. And the next $500K will take less than 10 years because you're starting with $500K instead of near zero. What $500K actually means. Let's get practical about what you can do with $500K. Option 1, early retirement planning. $500K isn't enough to retire on for most people, but it's a huge head start. Using the 4% rule, $500K generates $20,000 per year in safe withdrawal rates. That's not enough to live on, but combined with Social Security and maybe part-time work, you could retire at 55 instead of 65. Option 2, career freedom. With $500K, you can take risks with your career.
Want to start a business? You have 2 to 3 years of living expenses saved. Want to take a lower-paying job that you love? You can afford it because your investments are growing. Want to go back to school? You have the financial cushion.
Option 3, real estate play. $500K could be the down payment on a $1.5 to $2 million property that generates cash flow and appreciates. This is how people go from $500K to $2 to $3 million in the next 10 years. Option 4, coast fire. This is where you stop contributing to investments entirely and let the $500K compound for 20 to 30 years. At 8% annual returns, $500K becomes $2.3 million in 20 years and $5 million in 30 years. You could literally never invest another dollar and retire a multimillionaire. Option 5, generational wealth. You invest the $500K in dividend-paying stocks and blue-chip companies. Never touch the principal and pass it to your kids. They start their adult lives with $500K plus. You just changed your family tree. The point is, $500K gives you options, real options, life-changing options. Chapter 7, the advanced strategies, what we haven't covered yet. All right, we're about 90 minutes into this. You've learned the 5-phase system to get to $500K in 10 years. But I promised you something special toward the end, the insider knowledge that most people miss. Let's talk about the strategies that accelerate everything we've discussed. Strategy 1, the mega backdoor Roth, the wealthy person's secret. I mentioned this briefly in Phase 4, but let me explain why this is so powerful and how to actually do it. Most people can only contribute $23,000 to their 401k in 2024, was $22,500 in 2023. But the IRS actually allows total contributions of up to $69,000, including employer match and after-tax contributions. If your employer's 401k plan allows after-tax contributions and in-service Roth conversions, which not all do, you can contribute after-tax money beyond the normal limit and immediately convert it to Roth 401k. Why is this insane? Because now you're getting $41,000 into a Roth account that will grow tax-free forever. Over 30 years at 8%, that $41,000 becomes $412,000 of tax-free money. Most people making $80,000 to $150,000 can't afford to do the full $41,000. But what if you did $10,000, $15,000? Whatever you can do, it's basically free tax optimization. The catch? You need to check if your specific 401k plan allows this. Many don't, but if yours does, this is a game changer. Strategy 2, the spousal IRA arbitrage. If you're married and one spouse doesn't work or makes very little, you can contribute to a spousal IRA for them. That's $7,000 per year in 2024. But here's the trick. You contribute to a traditional spousal IRA, take the tax deduction now, saving maybe $1,680 if you're in the 24% bracket, and then immediately convert it to a Roth. Since the non-working spouse has no income, they pay little to no tax on the conversion. You just got $7,000 into a Roth IRA while also getting a $1,680 tax deduction. That's free money. Do this every year for 10 years and you've moved $70,000 into Roth accounts while saving $16,800 in taxes. That $16,800 saved and invested becomes approximately $24,500 over the remaining years. Strategy 3, the geographic arbitrage play. This is controversial but powerful. What if you lived in a low cost of living area while earning a high cost of living salary? With remote work becoming permanent for many industries, this is actually feasible now. You live in Austin, Tampa, or Nashville, where rent is $1,400 a month instead of San Francisco or New York, where it's $3,500 a month. You save $2,100 a month on housing alone. That $2,100 invested over 10 years at 8% annual returns is $386,000. Geographic arbitrage alone could get you 77% of the way to $500K. Now, many companies have started adjusting salaries based on location, but not all. And even if they adjust by 10 or 15%, you're still often coming out ahead because cost of living differences are usually 30 to 50%. Strategy 4, the side business tax advantages. If you have any self-employment income, even just $5,000 to $10,000 per year from freelancing or consulting, you can open a solo 401k. A solo 401k allows you to contribute up to $69,000 as both the employee and the employer. Even if you're already maxing your employer 401k, you can still contribute to a solo 401k from self-employment income. Plus, with a side business, you can deduct expenses, home office, equipment, software, education, travel if it's business related. These deductions save you 20 to 35% in taxes depending on your bracket. A side business making $15,000 per year with $3,000 in deductible expenses saves you $1,050 in taxes at the 35% marginal rate. That's $1,050 extra to invest annually. Over 10 years, that's $10,500 saved, growing to approximately $15,300. Strategy 5, the cash-out refinance leverage, advanced.
This is for years 8 to 10 and requires that you own property. Let's say you bought a house in year 6 for $400,000 with $80,000 down. By year 9, it's worth $520,000 and you owe $280,000. You have $240,000 in equity. You do a cash-out refinance, pulling out $80,000, keeping 20% equity to avoid PMI. You take that $80,000 and invest it. Your mortgage goes up by about $480 a month for that extra $80,000 at current rates. But that $80,000 invested at 8% returns $6,400 in the first year, which more than covers the extra $5,760 in annual mortgage payments. And here's the kicker. The mortgage interest is tax deductible, up to $750,000 of mortgage debt. But your investment gains compound tax deferred in retirement accounts or are taxed at lower long-term capital gains rates. You're essentially borrowing at 4% after the tax deduction to invest at 8%. That 4% spread is pure profit. This is advanced and risky. You're taking on debt to invest, but mathematically, over a 10-plus year period, it works more often than not. Strategy 6, the Roth conversion ladder, planning for early access. One problem with stuffing money into retirement accounts is you can't access it until 59.5 without penalties, right? Wrong. There's a strategy called the Roth conversion ladder that allows you to access retirement funds penalty-free before 59.5. So here's how it works. You convert money from a traditional IRA to a Roth IRA. You pay taxes on that conversion. 5 years later, you can withdraw that converted amount, not the gains, penalty-free. So, if you convert $50,000 in year 1, you can access that $50,000 penalty-free in year 6. You do this every year, creating a ladder of accessible funds. This is how people retire at 40, 45. They build a huge traditional 401k or IRA, then they retire, their income drops to near zero, and they start converting large amounts from traditional to Roth at very low tax rates. 5 years later, they have penalty-free access to that money. Why am I telling you this when you're building toward 500K in 10 years? Because you need to understand that money in retirement accounts isn't locked away forever. With proper planning, you can access it decades before traditional retirement age. The secret they don't tell you about wealth building. All right, here's the big one, the thing I promised at the beginning that most people never figure out. Everyone talks about saving and investing, but almost nobody talks about the real game changer, capital efficiency. What do I mean by that? It's not about how much money you make or even how much you invest. It's about how much wealth each dollar you invest creates. Let me explain with an example.
Person A invests $2,000 a month for 10 years in a basic total market index fund. They end up with about $366,000, assuming 8% returns and starting from zero. Person B invests the same $2,000 a month for 10 years, but they use tax loss harvesting to save $1,500 per year in taxes. They use the mega Backdoor Roth to get an extra $10,000 per year into tax-advantaged accounts. They house hack and save $500 on housing, investing that difference. They start a side business that generates an extra $800 a month, investing that. They use geographic arbitrage to save $800 per month on cost of living. Person B ends up with approximately $650,000 after 10 years. Same starting point, same discipline, but person B understood capital efficiency. That's the secret. It's not about making more money per se. It's about optimizing every financial decision to create more investable capital and better returns on that capital. Most people focus on the wrong things. They think, if I could just make $100,000 per year instead of $60,000, I'd be set. But making more money doesn't automatically create wealth if you also increase your lifestyle costs, which most people do. Person making $60,000 who invests $1,800 per month, a 30% savings rate, builds more wealth than person making $100,000 who invests $2,000 per month, a 20% savings rate. The $60K earner is more capital efficient. This is why you see people making $200,000 per year who are broke and people making $65,000 per year who retire as millionaires. Capital efficiency. So, how do you actually implement this? Here's the framework. Efficiency Layer 1. Eliminate financial leaks. Subscriptions you don't use, insurance you're overpaying for, bank fees and credit card interest, impulse purchases that don't align with your values, convenience expenses that add up, daily coffee, delivery fees, etc. Most people have $200 to $500 per month in leaks. Plug them. Efficiency Layer 2. Optimize your big three. Housing, can you pay 20 to 25% of gross income instead of 35%? Transportation, do you need that car payment or can you buy used? Food, are you spending $800 a month when $450 would be fine? These three categories are usually 50 to 60% of spending. A 15% reduction here creates massive investable capital. Efficiency Layer 3, increase without inflating. Every raise, invest at least 50% of the after-tax increase. Every bonus, invest 75+%. Every side income dollar, invest 80%.
This is how you scale your investing as your income grows without falling into lifestyle inflation. Efficiency Layer 4. Tax optimization. Max out tax-advantaged accounts first. Use tax loss harvesting in taxable accounts. Optimize your W-4 to not over-withhold. Don't give the government an interest-free loan. If self-employed, use all legal deductions. Saving 2 to 3% of your income in taxes annually compounds into serious money. Efficiency Layer 5. Return optimization. Keep costs low. Index funds, not actively managed mutual funds with 1% fees. Maintain proper asset allocation. Rebalance annually. Don't panic sell during downturns. The difference between 7.5% and 8.5% annual returns is $50,000 plus over 10 years on a $500K portfolio. If you nail all 5 layers, you don't need to make $150,000 per year to build wealth. You can do it on $60,000 to $80,000. You're just that much more efficient. Chapter 8. The common mistakes that destroy wealth. What to avoid. We've covered what to do. Now let's talk about what not to do, because honestly, avoiding mistakes is sometimes more important than executing perfectly. Mistake 1. The lifestyle inflation trap. This is the big one. You get a $10,000 raise, you're making $65,000 now instead of $55,000. You think, why am I grinding away with boring index funds when I could 10x my money with the next Tesla or Bitcoin? So you take $20,000 of your hard-earned portfolio and dump it into whatever's hot right now. Here's what usually happens. You lose 40 to 60% of it.
That hot stock crashes. That crypto plummets. That sure thing wasn't so sure. Now you're down $10,000 to $12,000. That's not just $10,000 gone. That's $10,000 that would have grown to $21,600 over the next 10 years at 8%. You just torched $21,600 of future wealth chasing a hot tip. Look, if you absolutely must scratch the speculation itch, limit it to 5% of your portfolio. Take $5,000 and go wild, but keep the other 95% in the boring stuff that actually works. Mistake 5, the analysis paralysis. Some people research endlessly. They read 30 books on investing. They compare expense ratios down to the basis point. They spend hours debating whether VTI or VOO is better. They're basically the same, by the way. Meanwhile, they're not actually investing because they're still trying to figure out the perfect strategy. Here's the truth. A good plan executed consistently beats a perfect plan that never gets implemented. Just pick a total market index fund and start. You can optimize later. Done is better than perfect. Mistake 6, the debt denial. This is where someone's investing $1,000 a month, but they're also carrying $25,000 in credit card debt at 21% APR, paying $438 a month in interest alone. That makes no sense. You're essentially borrowing at 21% to invest at 8%. You're losing 13% in that arbitrage. Pay off high-interest debt before investing aggressively. The exception is low-interest debt, like a mortgage at 3 to 4%, or federal student loans at 4 to 5%. That's fine to carry while investing. But credit cards, personal loans at 15%, kill those first. Mistake 7, the account neglect. You set up automatic investments 3 years ago. Great, but you've never logged in since. You don't know what you own, you don't know your returns, you don't know if you're even properly invested or if the money's just sitting in a settlement fund earning 0.01%. I've seen this more times than you'd think. People contributing faithfully to a 401k, but it's sitting in a money market fund earning basically nothing because they never actually selected investments. Check your accounts quarterly. Make sure everything is actually invested in what you think it is. Rebalance annually. This takes 30 minutes per quarter. That's 2 hours per year to manage your wealth. You can spare 2 hours. Mistake 8, the expensive advisor trap. Some financial advisors charge 1% of assets under management. That might sound small. It's not. On a $500,000 portfolio, that's $5,000 every year for life. That $5,000 per year would compound to $72,430 over 10 years if you invested it instead of paying it in fees. Now, if an advisor is genuinely adding value, creating a comprehensive financial plan, doing tax optimization, keeping you from panic selling, maybe it's worth it. But most people with straightforward financial situations don't need to pay 1% annually. A flat-fee CFP, Certified Financial Planner, who charges $1,500 to $3,000 for a one-time comprehensive plan is usually a better deal for most people. Or use a robo-advisor like Vanguard Personal Advisor Services, 0.30%, or Betterment, 0.25%. Better yet, if you're willing to learn, just do it yourself with index funds. It's not that complicated. Mistake 9, the trend chasing. This year, AI stocks are hot. Last year, it was crypto. Before that, cannabis stocks. Before that, 3D printing. Every year, there's a new hot sector. And every year, people chase the trend right as it's peaking. They buy NVIDIA at its all-time high. It drops 30%, they sell at a loss and move to the next hot thing.
Stop chasing trends. Broad market index funds capture every trend automatically without you having to guess which one is real and which is hype. Mistake 10, the comparison trap. Your friend just bought a house. Your sister is driving a BMW. Your coworker went to Bali for 3 weeks. You're over here eating meal-prepped chicken and rice, driving a 2015 Honda and investing every spare dollar. You feel like you're losing. You're not losing, you're winning. But winning at wealth building doesn't look impressive in your 20s and 30s. It looks impressive in your 40s and 50s when everyone else is stressed about money and you're not. The comparison trap destroys more wealth than almost anything because it pushes people into lifestyle inflation and keeping up with the Joneses spending. Remember, nobody posts their investment account balance on Instagram. They post the vacation, the car, the house. You don't see the debt, the stress, the sleepless nights about money. You're playing a different game, a longer game, a winning game. Chapter 9. The Real Talk. What if you can't invest $2,000 a month? Okay, let's address the elephant in the room. I've been throwing around numbers like $1,500 to $2,500 a month in contributions. For many people watching this, that's not realistic right now. Maybe you're making $45,000 per year. After taxes, that's about $3,200 a month take-home. Rent is $1,200, other expenses are $1,600, you've got $400 left. You can't invest $2,000 a month. It's mathematically impossible. I get it. So let's talk about the reality of building wealth when you're starting from a lower income base. The modified path to $500K. If you can only invest $500 to $800 a month, can you still hit $500K in 10 years? Honestly, probably not. Let's do the math. $500 a month for 10 years at 8% annual returns is $91,500. $800 a month for 10 years at 8% annual returns is $146,400. Neither gets you to $500K. But here's what's important. You're still building substantial wealth. $146,000 is life-changing money. That's a down payment on a house. That's career freedom. That's I can take a risk money. And remember, your income isn't static. If you're making $45,000 now, you could be making $60,000 in 3 to 4 years and $75,000 in 6 to 7 years with strategic moves. So here's the realistic modified path. Years 1 through 3. Invest $500 to $800 a month while focusing heavily on increasing income. Years 4 through 6, now making $60,000 to $65,000, investing $1,200 to $1,500 a month. Years 7 through 10, making $75,000 plus, investing $2,000 to $2,500 a month. Following this progression, you'd end up with approximately $320,000 to $380,000 after 10 years. Not quite $500K, but you're in the ballpark. And if you extend the timeline to 12 years instead of 10, you hit $500K. The point isn't to feel bad if you can't invest massive amounts right away. The point is to start where you are and systematically increase your capacity over time. Focus on the income side. When you're constrained by income, the answer isn't just cut expenses harder. There's a floor to how much you can cut. You still need housing, food, transportation, basic everything. The answer is to get aggressive about income growth. Strategy 1. Job hopping. Statistically, people who change jobs every 2 to 3 years earn 20 to 30% more over their career than people who stay at one company. Loyalty doesn't pay anymore. Performance and strategic moves do. Strategy 2. Skill stacking. You don't need to become an expert in one high-paying skill. You need to be good at 2 to 3 complementary skills that, when combined, make you valuable. For example, you're decent at writing, plus you learn basic SEO, plus you understand email marketing, you're now a content marketer who can command $65,000 to $85,000 instead of just $45,000 as a just writer. Strategy 3. Geographic arbitrage for income. Get a remote job with a company based in a high-cost city. They pay higher salaries, but you live in a low-cost city. You get the big city salary with small city expenses. Strategy 4. Side income is non-negotiable. When you're at a lower income base, side income isn't optional, it's essential. Even an extra $400 to $600 a month moves the needle significantly. Your main job pays the bills. Your side income builds wealth. That's the formula. The psychological challenge. Here's the hard part about building wealth from a lower income base. It takes longer to see results. When someone's investing $2,500 a month, they hit $100,000 in 3 years. They get that psychological win early. It reinforces the behavior. When you're investing $600, it takes 10 plus years to hit $100,000. That's a long time to stay motivated without seeing a huge number. So you need different milestones. Milestone 1. First $1,000 invested. Month 2.
Milestone 2, first $5,000, month 8 to 9. Milestone 3, first $10,000, month 16 to 18. Milestone 4, first $25,000, month 36 to 40. Milestone 5, first $50,000, month 60 to 66. Celebrate each one, because each milestone represents progress that most people never make. The real check. Look, I'm not going to lie to you. Building wealth from $45,000 a year is harder than building it from $75,000 a year. That's just math.
But it's not impossible. It just takes longer or requires more aggressive income growth or both. The alternative is to not build wealth at all, and that's not an option because 10 years from now, you're going to be 10 years older regardless. The only question is whether you'll be 10 years older with $150,000 to $300,000 or 10 years older with $3,000 and a bunch of stuff you don't remember buying. Start where you are. Use what you have. Do what you can. Chapter 10. The Action Plan. What to do tomorrow. All right, we're approaching 2 hours here. You've absorbed a ton of information. But information without action is just entertainment. So let's talk about what you actually do with all this. Like, you close this video, and then what? Here's your action plan, broken down into immediate next steps and long-term system. Tomorrow, literally tomorrow. Action 1. Check your current financial position. Open a spreadsheet, list every asset, checking, savings, investments, and every debt, credit cards, student loans, car loans. Calculate your net worth. This takes 30 minutes max. Action 2. Audit last month's spending. Download your bank and credit card statements. Categorize every transaction. Find out where your money is actually going, not where you think it's going. This takes 1 hour. Action 3. Open a high-yield savings account if you don't have one. Ally, Marcus, Discover, whoever. Just do it. Transfer $500 or whatever you can to start your emergency fund. This takes 15 minutes. This week, Action 4. If you have an employer 401k, check your contribution rate. If you're not getting the full match, adjust your paycheck deductions to capture it. If you don't have a 401k, move to Action 5. Action 5. Open a Roth IRA at Vanguard, Fidelity, or Schwab. Pick one. Doesn't matter which. They're all good. Fund it with $100 to $500 if you can. This takes 45 minutes, including the identity verification process. Action 6. Set up automatic monthly transfers from your checking to your Roth IRA, even if it's just $100 a month. Make it automatic. First of the month, money moves. No thinking, no deciding, automatic. This month, Action 7. Eliminate one major expense leak. Cancel the subscription you don't use, refinance that high-interest personal loan, switch to a cheaper phone plan. Find one thing that saves you $40 to $100 a month and do it. Action 8. Track your net worth monthly. First of every month, update your spreadsheet with current balances. Watch the number go up. This creates accountability and momentum. Action 9. Decide on your target monthly investment amount for the next 3 months. Be realistic. If it's $200, fine. If it's $1,200, great. Just commit to it and execute. In the next 3 months, Action 10. Build your $1,000 emergency fund if you haven't already. Sell stuff, pick up extra shifts, cut expenses temporarily, whatever it takes. Get to $1,000. Action 11. If you have high-interest debt, create an aggressive payoff plan. Avalanche method. Highest rate first. Extra payments every month. Set a target date to be credit card debt-free. Action 12. Research one way to increase your income. Is it asking for a raise, learning a new skill, starting a small side hustle? Pick one path and take the first step. In the next 6 months, Action 13. Increase your monthly investment by 25%. If you started at $400 a month, you're now at $500 a month. This shows you're making progress, not just maintaining. Action 14. Optimize your asset allocation. Make sure your investments are actually invested in index funds, not sitting in cash. Check your 401k, check your IRA, make sure it's all working correctly. Action 15. Review your progress. Look at where you were 6 months ago versus now. Net worth should have increased by $3,000 to $6,000 depending on your contribution rate. That's real progress.
The long-term system. Once you've done all that, here's the ongoing system that runs on autopilot. Daily, nothing. Seriously, don't check your portfolio daily. It'll make you crazy. Weekly, nothing financial. Live your life. The system is working in the background. Monthly, update net worth tracking spreadsheet, 5 minutes. Verify automatic transfers executed correctly, 2 minutes. Review last month's spending in Mint or YNAB, 15 minutes. Quarterly, review investment performance and allocation, 30 minutes. Identify one new optimization, tax strategy, expense cut, income increase. Increase monthly investment amount if possible. Annually, rebalance portfolio to target allocation, 1 hour. Tax loss harvest in taxable accounts if applicable, 1 hour. Review and update financial goals and timeline, 1 hour. Prepare for next year's contribution limits and strategies, 30 minutes. That's it. That's the system. 4 hours of active financial management per year once you've set everything up. The rest runs on autopilot. The mindset shifts required.
This action plan won't work if you don't make these mental shifts. Shift 1. Money is a tool, not the goal. The goal is freedom, options, security. Money is just how you get there. Shift 2. You're playing a long game in a world optimized for short-term gratification. Most people around you are playing the short game. That's fine. You're playing a different game with different rules. Shift 3. Progress over perfection. You don't need the perfect investment strategy or the perfect budget. You need a good strategy executed consistently. Shift 4. Income is not fixed. Your earning potential is not capped at your current salary. You can learn, grow, negotiate, switch jobs, add income streams. Income is flexible. Shift 5. Wealth is built in private, displayed in public, or not at all. Stop comparing your internal reality to other people's external highlight reel. Make these shifts, execute the action plan, and you will build wealth. Period. Chapter 11. The final push. What happens after 500K? We've spent nearly 2 hours talking about how to get to 500K, but let's spend the last few minutes talking about what comes after, because that matters too. 500K is not the end. It's a milestone, an important one, but still just a point on the journey. Here's what most people don't realize. The second 500K is way easier than the first 500K. Let's say you hit 500K in year 10. You keep investing $2,000 per month at 8% annual returns. Year 11, $594,000. Year 12, $696,000. Year 13, $807,000. Year 14, $929,000. Year 15, $1,063,000. You hit your second 500K in just 5 years instead of 10. Why? Because that 500K base is generating $40,000 per year in returns, which is more than you're even contributing. This is the exponential curve everyone talks about, but nobody really shows you. By year 20, if you keep the same $2,000 per month contribution rate, you're at $2.3 million. By year 25, you're at $4.1 million. That's generational wealth. That's my kids are starting adult life in a completely different financial position than I did wealth. The 3 paths after 500K. Path 1, traditional FIRE, financial independence, early retire. You keep investing aggressively. Your goal is to hit 1.25 to 1.5 million, which at 4% withdrawal rate generates $50,000 to $60,000 per year. Combined with part-time work or side income, you retire in your 40s. This is the path for people who hate their job or just want maximum freedom as early as possible. Path 2, Coast FIRE. You stop investing entirely. You let that 500K compound for 20 to 30 years while you just cover your living expenses with your income. That 500K becomes 2.3 to 5 million by the time you're 60 to 65 without adding another dollar.
This is the path for people who like their work but want to reduce pressure. You're investing in experiences and lifestyle now because you know you're set for later. Path 3. Barista Fire. You scale back to part-time work or lower-paying work you actually enjoy. Your $500K covers part of your expenses, maybe generating $20,000 per year if you withdraw 4%. You're earning the other $30,000 to $40,000 from enjoyable work. You're semi-retired. This is the path for people who want balance. Some work, some freedom, no stress. Which path is right? Depends on you, your values, your goals, your personality. Some people thrive on work and would be bored retired. Some people have been dreaming of freedom since they were 25. Some people want to travel the world, some want to start a nonprofit, some want to write novels. There's no wrong answer, but $500K gives you the ability to choose. That's really what this is about. The legacy perspective. Here's something to think about. Let's say you're 28 now. You hit $500K by 38. You live your life, you're responsible with money, but not obsessive. By the time you're 65, that $500K has become $3 to $4 million through natural compounding, even if you never added another dollar after 38. You don't spend all of it. You live well, but not extravagantly. You pass away at 85 with $2 million left. Your kids are now 45 to 55 years old. They each inherit $1 million. Do you know what $1 million does for someone in their 50s? It completely removes financial stress from the last third of their life. It lets them retire comfortably. It lets them help their kids, your grandkids, with college or starting their own wealth-building journey. You literally changed your family tree. Your grandkids are growing up in a family that has wealth, not one that's always stressed about money.
That's generational impact from a decision you made in your late 20s or early 30s to get serious about building wealth. The non-financial benefits. Let's talk about what having $500K does beyond the number itself. You sleep better. Literally. Financial stress is one of the top causes of insomnia and anxiety. When you have $500K invested, you're not stressed about money anymore. Emergency happens, you're covered. Job loss, you have time to find the right next move. That peace of mind is worth more than people realize. You make better career decisions. You're not trapped in a job you hate because you need the paycheck. You can take calculated risks. You can start that business you've been thinking about. You can negotiate harder for salary because you're not desperate. You have better relationships. Money fights are one of the top causes of divorce. When you're financially secure, that whole category of stress is removed from your relationships. You're more generous. When you're struggling financially, you can't help others even if you want to. When you're secure, you can be generous with family, friends, causes you care about. That feels good. You're more present. When you're not constantly worrying about money, you can actually enjoy your life. That vacation is truly relaxing instead of stress-inducing because you're worried about the credit card bill. These non-financial benefits are sometimes more valuable than the financial ones. The final reality check. Before we wrap up, I want to be brutally honest about something. Most people won't do this. Most people watching this video will think, that's great, and then do nothing. Or they'll start enthusiastically, invest for 3 months, get distracted, and stop. That's just reality. Building wealth requires consistent action over a long time period, and most people aren't wired for that. They want the result, but they don't want the process. But you? If you're still watching at this point, 2 hours into a finance video, you're different. You're serious. You're willing to put in the work. So here's what I want you to understand. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to execute flawlessly. You don't need to optimize every single detail I've mentioned. You just need to be consistent. Start investing something, anything, and don't stop. Increase the amount when you can. Don't panic sell. Don't chase trends. Don't make stupid decisions. That's it. Boring consistency beats exciting bursts of activity every time. The commitment. If you're ready to commit to this, here's what I want you to do right now. Open your Notes app or grab a piece of paper, Write this down. I commit to building wealth consistently for the next 10 years. I will invest a minimum of X dollars per month, fill in your realistic number. I will increase it by Y% per year, fill in your target, and I will not panic sell regardless of what the market does. I understand this is a marathon, not a sprint, and I'm committed to the long game. Date it, sign it. That's your contract with yourself. And you know what? A year from now, I want you to come back to this video and leave a comment with your progress. Tell me where you started and where you are after 12 months. Hold yourself accountable publicly, because when you publicly commit, you're way more likely to follow through. If you found this valuable, and if you've watched for 2 hours, I'm guessing you have, do me a favor. Like this video and subscribe to the channel. I put out content like this regularly that will genuinely help you build wealth. No fluff, no hype, just real strategies and honest information. The closing truth. Here's the ultimate truth about building a 500K portfolio in 10 years. It's completely possible. The math works, the strategies are proven, the path is clear, but it requires something most people won't give. Consistency over a long period of time in a world that rewards instant gratification. You're going to be tempted to quit. You're going to doubt yourself. You're going to see other people spending money on things you're denying yourself. You're going to wonder if it's worth it. It is. Every single time you transfer money to investments instead of buying something you don't need, you're voting for your future self. You're choosing freedom over stuff. You're choosing security over status. And 10 years from now, when you're sitting on $500,000 or more, when you have options that your peers don't have, when you can make decisions based on what you want rather than what you can afford, you'll be grateful to your past self for having the discipline to execute this plan. This is how wealth is built, not through luck or inheritance or getting in on the ground floor of the next Apple. It's built through consistent, boring, disciplined action over time. You know the plan now. You have the roadmap. You understand the strategies. The only question is, will you execute? I believe you will, because you're still here, and that says something. Now, close this video and take action. Open that account, make that transfer, start the system. Your future self is counting on you. Let's build some wealth.